do you have the topics written?
I remember them because I have SI. My mind is like really compartmentalized. Like I organize everything in my mind, right? My room is really messy, but my mind is compartmentalized.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, I don't know if we'll use the footage at the beginning or if we even recorded that, but just like when I was like, okay, so what are the topics? And you're like, oh, I just remember. Like, that's an example of how your mind might be more compartmentalized. Well, I need to write down everything that I like think of, because if I don't write it down, then it's just like whoosh, it's gone in my head. Well, like I might know like the NI kind of end goal of whatever my path is, but if I need to kind of be like, oh yes, in order to get to that distant end goal, I need to like do these 3 minor things. Like if I don't like write them down, then I'll forget about it.
Well, I'm kind of jealous because I feel like, some people say that you have to write down the things that you have to do, otherwise it'll cause like a lot of silent stress. It's like you don't have that. Like, yeah, I remember all the little things that I have to do constantly. It's just always in the background. And I'm always like just aware of how many things that I haven't done because again, I don't have TE or like it's really down there. So like just SI is like, oh look, you have like 20 tasks and you haven't done any of them. So I think writing them down kind of relieves it a little bit.
That's interesting because I feel like I can relate to that somewhat, but it's kind of slightly different with NI. I feel like it's more like, oh, these are all of the big end goals that you want to reach someday and you're not there yet. So
I guess NI would be like one of my shadow functions that, right? Like NI would be one of my shadow functions and I only feel that way like I don't feel that way naturally. Like SI naturally feels like, oh, look at all the things like laundry that you haven't done. But like I use my shadow function, I guess, when my mom's like, so how is your life going? And I'm like, no, it's going nowhere.
Yeah, that's interesting because I feel like when I have a day full of just like completing small little tasks that might be like unrelated to one another, like at the end of all that, I could feel very unaccomplished if like I didn't make a major stride to like one of my big goals.
Well, okay, so what I read is that like NI is an extrapolating force or whatever. Like you guys can just naturally see what's gonna happen. Like, how do you do this? But you just naturally see what's gonna happen, whereas we don't naturally see anything because it's just NE. It's just NE is like, ha ha ha, look, anything can happen. It's all up to you. So SI is like, okay, stop. Let us make a to-do list. Okay, so I imagine SI as like every single experience I ever have, every quality of everything that I've ever experienced ever. Like this wall is this texture and this color and it reminds me of this moment in my childhood. So everything is literally like compartmentalized in a cabinet sort of situation, but you can have infinite cabinets, right? And they don't mean anything. There's just a bunch of cabinets. But like NI will like discard things that don't really fit into like a framework. It's almost like you're building this ever expanding structure, but it's still like a structure. It's not just like this endless sea of meaningless cabinets.
I think that's probably like the main way your mind is structured, maybe. Since those 2 introverted ones are probably like how you store information. Well, I guess both NI and SI can be biased, but probably just in different ways. I think NI can be biased kind of in the way that you just explained, where if it like doesn't really fit into our structure, we can just like discard it just for the sake of like keeping that structure intact, unless there's something that we really cannot ignore, and then we kind of have to go through a paradigm shift and like reorganize our NI in a way that makes sense with this new data. But I guess SI can maybe just be biased and just like if there's like something that you keep associating with another thing, then you can keep kind of like, yeah, I guess it's like kind of reaffirmation bias, right? Where we just kind of like keep building the associations we have.
It's cool that you can organize your observations into a pattern. Like as an SI user, I'm just gonna say right now that unless you're like forcing me to make a pattern, I don't see any patterns anywhere. There's just no. There's just all sorts of like new experiences and new possibilities, but I don't really see anything like. I don't naturally see anything as accruing a pattern.
It is weird how I remember, like, the structure of things without actually remembering the things itself.
Oh, that's like that comic thing that I saw. That was like, SE is experiencing the thing, and SI is like judging that experience of the thing, and NI is just experiencing the meaning behind the thing while bypassing the thing itself. I was like, whoa.
So then how does NE work for that? NE experiences all the possible meanings of like everything.